this will only really be short. I wanted to get this out onto Twitch. I've kind of gone dark on Twitch, on YouTube, playing games, anything really. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of going on in my life right now that has made one, just streaming near enough impossible. To essentially go back to when it all started, as I've said multiple times during casts, and I've been very open with the community, that I suffer from quite severe depression. That came to a head pretty much after the final video of the final time I was streaming God of War. I had essentially hit a low point again. And I think it was around that time, or roughly around that time, I just managed to find myself a new counsellor. I just managed to get myself back into therapy. I was trying my hardest to make ends meet. And throughout all that, I was essentially pushing myself too hard. I was struggling to... balance my life in every aspect, if that would make any sense. It wasn't like, oh, I want to do the Twitch thing, but I can't do that right now because I'm currently in a fit of depression. I've got relationships, I've got work, I've got this. It wasn't anything as kind of standard day-to-day life as work and balance and stuff like that. It was mainly more, I'd kind of lost the ability to feel. And it's something which I know a few people who've gone through depression have honestly felt the same way. They feel completely numb. There's no happiness, there's no sadness, there's no love, there's no any emotion that you can think of. I just couldn't feel. I was essentially a zombie for a short amount of time, and I was trying my hardest to be open, be upfront with everyone, but if I couldn't at that moment in time feel, what do I tell people? Oh yeah, I can't talk right now, I'm numb. So I decided for a short amount of time, while trying to get my head back into place, I was going to basically put content creation completely down. I don't need to do this. This is something I was doing as a hobby. It's something that I enjoy, but it's not how I make money, blah, blah, blah. So I made the small decision of just put this down, ignore everything else that's going on, and I need to focus on me. And that was essentially after the final part of God of War. In the time between then and now, where right now I feel kind of more secure in myself to be able to try and do streaming again, try and put myself back out there, try and get some semblance of normality into my life. As you can see, my surroundings are completely different. I'm no longer living where I used to. I was living at that place with what is now my ex-girlfriend. We talked, and it was more on my end because of my depression and everything that was going on, but we talked and we kind of agreed that it wasn't the best thing for either of us right now. We'd had a talk like this before, about 2 years back, and it was her decision to keep us together. And at this point, it was my decision, which this is what's happened. So me and her have broken up. It's on good terms. We still talk. But it honestly got to the point with completely feeling numb. If I wasn't able to feel like I could love another person, let alone myself, it was really unfair of me to be in a relationship at that point. So we broke up. We nearly went our separate ways. We still, like I said, we still talk. I've moved out, she's kept the house, so all the pets and everything are fine. I'm now having to live back at my parents'. The brief test point in this title is because I'm currently using a Wi-Fi dongle which is sat in the front of my PC. I'm not on a wired connection anymore, but the internet connection here is ridiculously strong. So I'm kind of hoping that my offset, as long as I don't push my bitrate too high, I might be able to get through enough without too many frame drops. So why did it take me so long to get back into this? One of them was the mental health aspect. I wasn't secure enough in myself to be able to put myself in front of a camera. Drastic things have changed. Stuff like my piercings have come back out. I currently now, as you can see, have braces in. I've decided, after years of neglect and abusing my teeth essentially, that I'm going to get them fixed. One thing has disappeared from my life, at least I can fix another one of them. So I've got all that going on. As I said, I'm seeing a counsellor, I'm talking to her about my depression, I'm talking to her about everything that's going on in my life. It seems to be working. In conjunction with that, the medication that I used to be on was not helping me anymore. It kind of got to a certain point where the medication stopped helping. So I'm now completely off medication, and I can completely say 100% hand on heart that my moods and everything haven't dropped any lower than when I was on mirtazapine. It seems to have got me to that stable point in tandem with being able to go to therapy, being able to talk through my issues and kind of work out how to essentially survive in this world as a person with depression. Like, it's the biggest thing. I need to be able to survive in this world. It was getting to the point I wasn't able to step outside. I wasn't able to talk to people. I was neglecting friends. I was pushing them completely out of my life. And while these are all completely normal things to go through with depression, honestly, at that point, I'd started gaining a bit of feeling back, and it didn't feel great. It really didn't feel great. At some of the lowest points I've been, it was never to the point I attempted to take my own life. But there were seriously dark and twisted thoughts of how it could happen. And it wasn't, oh, I'll jump off a bridge. Not to give any more, but that kind of example. It was more just kind of giving up on life. I could be walking down a street and see a car coming towards me. And it wasn't, I'm going to jump in front of this car. It was, I could jump in front of this car. This car could take my life away from me. And I wouldn't feel this anymore. I wouldn't feel this overwhelming surge of emotion that's coming back. It's been a difficult road. It's been a very difficult road. And honestly, as much as it hurts to think back on these, and it hurts to think on what had happened previously, how dark my thoughts had been, I'm finally starting to see the silver lining. I'm finally getting to a point where this shit, this day-to-day monotonous bullshit drone of depression, which is just worming its way inside my brain and honestly making me trying to make me see the worst in every situation, make it to the point where I want to shut down again and I can't physically live. I'm past that. This would never have happened without without me being able to kind of live again. So essentially that's my update. I'm kind of getting back on my feet. I'm talking to friends again. I'm finally kind of getting a grasp on emotions, which is Honestly, it's the weirdest feeling. It's like trying to learn how to walk again. I'd spent so many years without knowing half the emotions that can go through your brain, without feeling a connection to another person, is probably the biggest thing. Whether it's friends, relationship, love, hatred, anything. It's kind of a sensory overload. And the easiest way I put it is, it's like a kid at Christmas. They've got all these shiny things in front of them, all of them new. All of them they want to experience at the same time, but they get so completely overwhelmed they have to zone into one thing. And then other things kind of get neglected until someone else is able to turn around and say, actually, you've played with this enough, just try something else. That's essentially how my brain is working at the minute. I focus so hard on one emotion, one person, it makes it, I kind of get blinkers and it makes me unable to see the rest of the world. And like I said, it's kind of like learning to walk again. With all these emotions that are swimming around and not really having any control over anything that I'm thinking. It becomes a struggle. It really has become a struggle in day-to-day life. And honestly, it's one of those, I don't think, as a lot of people have told me, you never truly get over depression. Or it never truly leaves. You manage to cope with the symptoms. You manage to keep yourself on the right track, keep yourself kind of walking forward, everything in a line. And then occasionally, depression, like the real severe lows of depression, will rear its ugly head. You'll have a couple of bad days, but you're strong enough in yourself that you can kind of push through it. I'm still working on a way to control, be able to push through, to essentially manage my life again. And hopefully, if I can stream, I can at least distract myself. I'm still seeing a therapist. I'm trying my hardest to open. Well, I say I'm trying my hardest. Luckily, this therapist is actually really good. Really good for me. She was able to pinpoint certain things very quickly. She was able to help me through a lot of stuff. She was kind of able to help me realize some of the self-destructive patterns I've got, some of the fact that I'm a complete masochist, apparently. I enjoy pain, which kind of explains tattoos, piercings, when I was younger, punching walls, all that shit. And it's definitely made me have to face some home truths, which are very difficult to digest, but it's what I need to do. Ultimately, with all this, as much as I'm a broken man right now, and as much as, honestly, I'm fighting back tears, don't give up. There were so many times when I could have just laid down, given up, and just honestly disappeared. And in those moments, it honestly feels like nobody in the world cares about you. It's a complete lie. Your brain is just getting the wrong signal to the wrong place, and it's making you feel the wrong emotions. The world isn't as dark as you think. I often refer to, while in my low states of depression, I used to see the world in grayscale. There was no colour. There was nothing that gave it life. It was just this miserable, drab, grey expanse. I can start to see colour now. It does take a long time, and it will take me even longer to finally beat this. But honestly, if I can do it in the middle of essentially losing my house, losing two of my best friends, a relationship going tits up, to put it politely. And I'm still standing here. I'm still able to go through day-to-day life. There are a lot stronger people than me out there who was really struggling with this. And I urge you, always urge you, try and find help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign that you are, especially for men, it is not a sign that you are weak. It is not a sign that you can't take care of your own problems. You know, all this media bullshit we get fed of men need to be strong. We need to be the emotionally strong people. We can't ever show our feelings. All that bullshit that keeps going on. Forget it. If you feel sad, feel sad. If you feel like you want to cry, cry. You can't hide from this, and the longer that you hide from it, the worse it becomes. And that's exactly what I did. It took me a very long time. I thought I was just having a bad year. I was just waking up in a bad mood, having a bad year, and one day it was just going to be fine. I was just going to wake up, I wouldn't care, and I'd resume life as it was. I didn't realise that was the slope that eventually brought me down to the point of contemplating self-harm and suicide. No one should ever have to go through that. I won't wish this on my worst enemy. But on a plus side, it looks like my connection's stable enough to at least do even this more often. Yeah. Hopefully one day I'll get back on my feet. Properly get back on my feet. I'll be able to just enjoy life. Go out, do whatever. Anything I want. Because realistically, as long as you put your mind to it, you can have anything you want. You can be anyone you want. In the middle of depression, your brain doesn't work. So it makes that kind of whole being what you want sort of thing impossible. But it is possible to get better. It is possible to stop these dark thoughts coming through. One thing, and I would not recommend this. Definitely don't recommend this to everyone. But even through all this, stuff like nightmares have been creeping back in. And I don't know if I'll be able to get a clear shot of it, but essentially one of the nightmares consisted of me walking behind my two best friends, essentially looking like a hollow from Bleach, while the chain was slowly being eaten until eventually the chain was gone, the hole in the center of my chest kind of collapsed, I fell to pieces, they carried on walking, made it seem like no one really cared. The beauty of nightmares. Sorry for the feet. That there is a constant reminder now. Constant reminder that that's where I was. And honestly, I can look at that now and it doesn't affect me. Although I did only get it done yesterday. But looking back at my nightmares, looking back at my low points, looking back at everything that was awful for me, I'm able to look back on them and know for a fact that I'm stronger now than I was then. And that's all it is. Getting yourself strong enough to be able to recognize that all the shit that has happened in your past really does not matter. It really doesn't. Yeah, it's still, you'll learn from your mistakes, you'll learn from your past, but you can't let your past define how you spend your future. That's probably the most philosophical I've sounded in a couple of days. But it's true. So I'm going to give up rambling now. Because, well, talking this through, there's only so much I can really say without really pouring my heart out. And I don't think the internet is the best place for me to pour my heart out to right now. If I do manage to get a streaming setup, well, I've got my streaming setup here. If I do manage to get it more secure, the internet connection, hopefully I can get more secure. Hopefully I can go back to an Ethernet, but if not, it seems stable enough as long as I stay around 4K. I've dropped 0.2% of frames, and that was in one big chunk. And I think a download came on at the same time. So, this could become a more regular thing. Probably more me playing games rather than kind of letting my heart bleed all over Twitch. And hopefully I'll be able to get back into the normal rhythm. I have my PlayStation 4 here. I have my capture card here. I have a very haphazard setup, but I will be able to carry on my God of War playthrough. That's what I want to do next. I want to carry on the God of War playthrough. I want to be able to do like nighttime Overwatch streams and stuff like that, and try and get back into this. So, take care of yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.